welcome back to another episode of Family Matters in Marshfield. My name is Rich. I'm the pastor at First Baptist Church here in town, and I'm glad you're taking a few minutes to join us in this Christmas series. We do these videos, this podcast, because we really are for the families in Marshfield. We want to see our families thrive, and we want to come alongside of you and encourage you, not because we know all of the answers, not because we've got it figured out, but because we're on the journey too. And we know the importance of your family thriving. And so thank you for taking a few minutes and joining us today. Today, I've got my buddy Stephen McNeill back. He's a family pastor in Lexington, South Carolina. We've done ministry together. He's a friend. And as I've shared before, I think he is one of the best in the country when it comes to family ministry and understanding the phases of children and teenagers and what they're going through in life as they're developing and spiritually and how do they grow. He understands young adults and he understands parenting. But he's very passionate about marriage. And so as you've seen our conversations, we've talked about communication, and we've talked about going on dates. If you haven't, I encourage you to go back. I encourage you to share those with people, because my guess is somebody in your life, friends, that need to be reminded of the importance of communication, of healthy communication, and the importance of going dates. So share those, pass those along. But today we're talking about Christmas traditions and how do we put traditions in our life, why they're important. And I had to be upfront and honest with Stephen on this conversation. I am the worst person when it comes to tradition of any kind. I don't know how it happened, but I am. My mom, bless her, she had, it's just me and my brother. And so, you can imagine all the things that she tried to put into our life as family traditions, and nothing stuck except for one thing. Our only family tradition, and we observe this in my family today, this is about all I got to bring to the family tradition list, is that in the summer at the Major League Baseball All-Star game, which nobody really watches anymore, on that day, we have chili dogs at the house. And so
Nice.
to this day, we will have chili dogs. And if we've got commitments the night of the All-Star game, either Monday or Wednesday after, we still honor that tradition. So that's all I've got to bring to the table to this conversation. And so, Stephen, you're going to have to help us out and why it's important. And so I'm just going to toss it to you and tell us about the importance of family traditions, Christmas traditions. Maybe share some of yours and try to convince me to change my old man patterns when it comes to traditions.
Yeah, I just again want to thank you, Rich, for having me on. Love your heart, love your ministry, appreciate your friendship. I'm blessed to know you and have you in my life. Man, tradition. I think you have more tradition in you than you believe, because you're a pastor of a church. And when I think about that, we've grown up with tradition. I think the culture we live in, our calendars are tradition. Like we come around every year and we do some of the same things over and over and over. For me, I grew up in a home that my parents were separated. And so we had I had so many traditions, like you had to go here or you had to go there. And so we picked a lot of those up as I got married. And then you added not only a real dad and a real mom that you had to go visit family on my side, and then you had in-laws that you had to go visit. And so tradition for us became, we had to do a lot of those things. When you think about traditions, the biggest one for me is like when you think about Christmas Eve services, like you think that was always a big one for us. My dad would not go to church anytime throughout the year, but he was going on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And I never asked him the question because I was afraid to ask him, like, why do you go to church on Christmas Eve?
Right.
But we got in the car, we drove to church, we sang the songs, we lit the candles, and I never asked why. We just did it.
Okay.
And then after that, we would go to my grandparents' house and we would eat and we would open gifts. We never changed Christmas Eve. That's
Hmm.
the way it was. Um, Even to the point after he passed away, we continued. Once my dad passed away, we still did that. Obviously, he wasn't at church, but we felt like his presence was there with us. And we still went to my grandparents' house. And we did all those things. Now, for us and our family, tradition was one of those things like, what do we do that's unique for us?
Okay.
And so we wanted to create something in our family that we said was the McNeills,
Hmm.
like it was ours. And so for us, those have changed with seasons as they do in marriage.
Right.
But, obviously I'm a pastor, so I'm at church on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Um,
And you're
and
there
then,
all day on Christmas Eve. Three
yeah, we're there all
services,
day.
two in the afternoon, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. Like it's an all day deal.
Yeah, it's an all day deal. And so for us, but when we got done with that, like I said, we would go to my grandparents' house, and, but for us, what we do in our family, and we get home on Christmas Eve, and we have Christmas pajamas. We unwrap.
Oh, good. My youngest, is wanting that, and I'm
Yeah,
like trying to reject it. No, no.
yeah.
Had I known, I wouldn't have invited you on for this conversation.
I thought it was the dumbest thing ever when I first got. Like I was like, what are we doing? Like I don't. Every year I get a new pair of pajama pants, and I don't ever wear them, but that one time, like I don't know, but we're keeping the pajama pants business, and like we're keeping them happy, but the joy that I got out of that is my kids are so excited about it now. Like they want to open that gift. They go put those pajamas on. We take a family photo in front of the tree. We read the Christmas story out of the Bible together. We read the night before Christmas. And the one thing I love about a tradition like that is uh, it's I'll never forget those memories of my teenage kids wanting to sit beside us on the couch and being able to read that out of the Bible and then out of the book, and hoping that one day the Lord's going to bless them with a family that they can create their own traditions, and then we have the tradition on Christmas morning. My wife, she will not let the kids get out of bed until she goes up there and tells them they can come down.
Oh no.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
And now I love it because I just wait. I know they're awake, but I just wait and
Right.
wait and
Right.
wait and wait. And they're at the top of the stairs, like, can we come down? And we're like, no. And we have to do the whole picture thing, And so for us, that's tradition in our home,
Right.
but we love it. And it took me a while to get to that place, but I'm so thankful that we get to do that, and we get to have those moments. And every family, their moments are going to be different, whether you get together on Christmas afternoon and you have this big meal together, or you go and sing carols together, or you go Black Friday shopping, like whatever that tradition is. The thing about it is, don't do it because you feel like you have to. Make these traditions because you enjoy it. You love the joy that you get when you're hanging out with the people that you're experiencing it with, the memories that you're making. I think that's where we mess up in families so much. We feel like we have to do it,
Yeah.
when we ought to be thinking the Lord allows us to do this.
Right. So let me ask you, so what would you say to a guy like me who's been kind of the anti
Yeah.
Christmas tradition? I've never really thought of myself as a Grinch, but listen to you talk, I guess I kind of am. What would you say to us to encourage us to let our guards down and just to soften up and embrace it? What encouragement would you have for us?
Well, I think the big question would be, why not? Like I think that would be my question to
Never
you.
done it
Like,
this way before.
yeah, well, again, but in the world that we live in, and then same way you did when you got married, like your marriage is not the same way when you got married. Like it's always changing, it's always evolving. Your family's always changing, it's always evolving. My question would be for you is like, why not? Why not try to why not try something new? Why not create something new? Why not create memories with your wife and your kids that man, they'll laugh when you've gone on to be with Jesus.
Yeah.
They're gonna sit back and go, "You remember when Dad burnt those pancakes, or he wore that same old T-shirt for Christmas that had 7 holes in the sleeve?" Like they will laugh about that, and they will hopefully one day tell your grandkids, and they'll tell you, and you'll think about like that. That's a legacy that you'll leave. Like these fun traditions that were passed on because you were willing to say, I'll get out of my comfort zone a little bit
Yeah.
and I'm going to have some fun.
Yeah. And I think when you ask that question, why not? Like I can't come up with an answer.
Yeah.
Like, like I like yeah, I've got nothing to that. And so, I think sometimes as dads, we
Mm,
can we may be um 40 or 50, and sometimes we can already start acting like a grumpy old man.
mhm.
And
Absolutely.
that's not what we want our kids to think about us. And
Mm.
so I would encourage us, and I will reconsider the Christmas pajama thing. Um, but um, in the Bible, there's a lot of things that talk about tradition. One of the biggest ones in the Old Testament comes back where every year they're supposed to remember the Passover.
That's right.
They're to remember
Mm,
how Jesus delivered them from slavery in Egypt, but not only how they were delivered from slavery, but how God brought them through. And even in their disobedience in the Passover, they remember wandering in the wilderness,
that's right.
and they remember that God showed up in His faithfulness. And so, our traditions, they help tie things together, and they help us. And so, you shared a little bit about reading the Christmas story
Mm,
on Christmas Eve. You've also talked about how growing up, having to go spend time, or not having to, but going to spend time with your mom, spending
mm.
time to go with your dad. What would you say to families that are navigating that? They're trying to figure out how to um, just manage. Kind of a blended family, or a family having to go to mom and having to go to dad. What would you say to us about that?
Well, I think the biggest thing with families like that is there has to be compromise. I think uh, I was blessed that my parents got along together, and here's the reason why they got along. They wanted to raise us, um, and so compromise. Like they realized that if I spend time over here, then I'm going to spend time over here, and they wanted us to be able to have that structure and that comfort and that love of both parents, even though the parents were not together. And so their goal was try to make sure that we saw that. And I would say to parents who are trying to maneuver this, that's where communication becomes so important because it's not about you two anymore. Y'all have made a decision, like y'all have gone your separate ways, but you still had this common goal to raise your child in a way that always points them to Christ. And you have to do that in a loving way, and how you respond is how they're going to pick up to respond to situations. And so that would be my encouragement is compromise. Like nobody's trying to win. Nobody's trying to one up each other.
Yeah,
You're trying to make sure that they get the most incredible Christmas
yeah,
that they can possibly get over and over and over because you two have learned to try to work together and love well. I always go back to the word do good, man. We're just trying to do good.
yeah. So that's great. I also want to throw another scenario back at you on this: is in-laws. You
No,
know, if you're married, you have them,
yeah.
and so some are blessed. I'm blessed with great in-laws.
Mm,
I've never known the conflict with in-laws. I've never had that experience, but I know that in-laws just bring a whole new dynamic to family traditions
Mm.
and to just how we navigate this Christmas season. So, any thoughts or suggestions on how we can honor our in-laws and include those traditions at the same time, recognizing that as you're a new family, you
Mhm.
as a family unit, you are having to navigate a full schedule. And so, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is one, you got to respect your spouse. Like you want to make sure that you honor her and how you respond to your in-laws. But I think you as a couple, you also have to set guardrails in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to set some like here's our parameters, here's what we're staying in within our guardrails. We're going to make sure that we honor our time as a couple. We're going to make sure we're going to honor our time as with our kids. And we're going to be really, really careful that when we're with our in-laws, that we love them well, but we're going to make sure that they don't dictate what we do. And that's something that it takes constant prayer, constant communication, constant. You and your spouse got to be on the same page. And that's where that communication we talked about a while back, and communication is so important every single
Yeah, and
day.
and I've said this in another one of our Christmas videos. Right now you're playing catch up, but
Yep,
really that communication's got to start in September and
that's
October.
right. Yeah,
If you want to navigate that well, the communication has to start early. And I know you want to avoid it. I mean, we all want to avoid conflict. We don't want to hurt people, or at least most of us don't. Um, and so we've got to start that conversation earlier than better, even though it's an awkward conversation we don't want to
Mhm.
have. We honor them by doing that. That gives us time to sort through the tension or maybe the disagreement. So by the time we get to Christmas, that you know um, we've been able to honor.
Yeah, and I would just add to this. And listen, when it comes to family and in-laws and all that kind of stuff, I just want to say this to you. Sometimes as a couple, you just got to suck it up. Like you just gotta do it. And a couple hours is not gonna it's not gonna kill you. Um, and you're gonna get so many brownie points with your spouse that it's a win. Like it's a win. And sometimes you just gotta deal with it. And you're gonna, like I said, you're just gonna have to go with it. We all face this in church. Sometimes you got to go to meetings you don't want to. Sometimes you got to just do it. You got to put a smile on your face and you got to shake hands. You got to love people, and you just do that with a joy in your heart because you're honoring the Lord, but you're also honoring your spouse.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, this is the last of the videos we've got with you in our Christmas series. Any last thing that you want to throw at us as we in our marriages, as we navigate this Christmas season in a healthy way?
I would just say priorities. Priorities. Make sure your priorities are in line, because as soon as one gets out of line, if you're not keeping Christ at the center and then you and your spouse next, it's just gonna be out of control. No matter how great you are at your job or all these different things, how much money you make, all that doesn't matter. If your priorities are not in line as a couple, you are going to feel anxious. You have a lot of anxiety. You're going to have a lot of struggles. You're going to have all these things. And so on your roadmap together as a couple, and that roadmap's always moving, you've got to make sure your priorities are in line. What's the most important thing? Your relationship with the Lord, and then your relationship with each other. So that will be my challenge. We make sure you unwrap that every day. Like we can't wait to unwrap presents. Unwrap each other every day. Like your marriage new. Like when you open that gift for the first time, like on Christmas, you're like, this is amazing. This is what I wanted. Every day, unwrap that gift of your spouse and make sure you have that same, man, this is my gift from God. And I am so blessed by that.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you, Stephen, for joining us for our Christmas series. And I look forward to 2024 for you hopping on, helping us navigate marriages all the way here in Marshfield from Lexington, South Carolina. It's probably a little cooler here than it is there,
That's
but
right.
Hey, if you've had a chance to watch this, I just want to encourage you. Um, Push towards these traditions. And if you're somebody like me that's been kind of a non traditionalist for whatever reason, I want to encourage you to reconsider what it would mean to your kids, what it would mean to your spouse, and what it would mean to the legacy that you leave within your family, because we're always passing something on to our kids. And what are our kids going to do? They're going to duplicate what they see in us as a mom and as a dad. And so
Mm.
I just want to encourage you, reconsider how you navigate traditions. And then I would encourage you, either start a new tradition this
That's
Christmas
right. That's
or
right.
add something fresh, add something new to that tradition for your family. I promise you, your kids, your grandkids, your spouse, um, your family will be better for you pressing towards that. So, y'all have a great Christmas. I'll see you again on other videos during this Christmas series. And remember, pass these along, share them with other people that you think might find this helpful. And again, we believe in family, and we are for the families in Marshfield. And we want to come alongside of you, not because we have all the answers, not because we're perfect, but because we're on the journey and we want to journey with you. We'll see you next time.